Welcome back to Every Disney Movie Ever. My name is Jess and I'm watching Every Disney Movie Ever, and I found a movie today. I'm going to be talking about The Whiz Kid and the Mystery at Riverton. The Whiz Kid and the Mystery at Riverton is a 1974 television release that I have covered in a video already, all the technical things. The crew will be listed down below, but the original video will also be linked down below so you can kind of see the crew. And then I covered two of the main three cast also in that video, so the only cast member I haven't covered is Clay O'Brien, who plays Shea, and he is best known for the Cowboys, Cahill, U.S. Marshal, Macintosh, and TJ. And it is also based off a book which I did mention in the previous video. The book is called The Marvelous Inventions of Alvin Fernald by Clifford B. Hicks. I couldn't find a full-on summary, so we can't even do a comparison, but the short summary I could find was that a kid named Alvin, mostly has to deal with Mrs. Huntley's house and everything that's going on, but basically he gets into different shenanigans with his inventions, and his inventions help him out of it, and all of that fun stuff. Seeing as I covered everything technical in the original video I did for this film, we get to jump right into notes, but before we do that, I do want to say I have a guest for this video. It's a recent acquaintance of mine. He's a Twitch streamer. His name is Max Pacheco. He loves Disney movies. He says he's seen over 1/3 of them, which is very cool. I've also definitely seen over 1/3 of them, although now technically I think I'm just about halfway through them, which is insane. That's crazy. But he's seen about 1/3 of them, he says. He loves the older ones, so he was really excited to be able to jump in and do this found one with me so we could watch a 70s movie. And so we're gonna either go back and forth between our notes, or it'll be us virtually speaking, or it'll be me sitting here talking about my notes and then he'll jump in and talk about his notes. It's gonna work somehow, and you get to watch it. Okay, everybody, this is Max. Say hey, what's going on? And we are now having a discussion about The Whiz Kid and the Mystery at Riverton. Say hi, Max.
Hi, I'm Max.
So you like this movie? You brought this movie to me, right? And
I only brought you this movie because I was determined to find a movie that you couldn't find. And then I find it, and I found a DVD of it, which was of course bootleg and everything, and shared it with you. And then lo and behold, we're about to record, and you just already had a better copy of it.
I didn't already have it. I was going to watch the copy you found for me, but then this guy who posts a lot of old Disney movies on YouTube, who I've communicated with because he has posted so many old Disney movies that I'm like, thank you, I would have never found this without you. He commented literally days before, obviously, because I messaged you 2 days ago with it. Days before we were about to record, he said, I just uploaded this, try to grab it before it might get taken down. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I checked it to see if it was the same one you had. And it just had a few more seconds of the beginning. So I was like, okay, we'll use this. I'll send this to you, whatever. But no, otherwise I would have never found this film. I mean, I guess eventually I would have, but the found video would have never been a reality without you finding it and sending it to me.
This isn't a movie I grew up with or anything. I was just I'm on a quest because I like finding lost films, as well, and I love old Disney films. There are very few where I'm just oh, that was awful. Usually I get some enjoyment out of them.
Yes. Okay, well, what do you think of The Whiz Kid and the Mystery at Riverton?
I enjoyed it. I kept trying to put myself in the shoes of okay, I'm a little kid watching this. What would I get out of this on TV? And my little kid mind was well, this is pretty fun, but this kid's not doing as much with his inventions as I would like. And also, this real estate plot is a little confusing.
The real estate. Yes. So, I have this whole theory about when I've been going through watching these movies is that all the movies around each other affect what I think of whatever movie I'm watching. So, for instance, right now I'm in the late 90s. And so to go back and watch a 1970s movie, I really had to make sure I wasn't judging the film based on quality or, pace, because 70s movies were a much slower pace, and they of course were a little bit less quality. It's 1974. So I always try to, like, because where, like, if I watched it in the 1970s when I was watching the 70s films, I probably wouldn't have even thought of those things because I was watching films similar at the time. But also we have the problem where I'm in the late 90s and I finally am starting to hit a few that are good, but I have been on a streak of just horrendously awful films in the late 90s, that something like The Whiz Kid and the Mystery at Riverton, that is just such a simply fun little adventure for these kids, is like a breath of fresh air compared to like Rocket Man and Mr. Magoo. So like it was interesting to sit down and watch this, and I was very happy to note that I didn't judge the film based on pace or quality. I was kind of actually excited to be back in the 70s, which I never thought I would say, because there were some snoozers in the 70s as well.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, I don't know why, but I guess I was thinking back to my childhood of like what this would have been like as a 90s film. And like, I was thinking like the opening would have been way more elaborate. Like I've read a little bit of the book, and the opening of the first book is the same as the opening of this movie with the alarm clock like tied to him to wake him up. But that would have been more like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, where like it would have been like all sorts of stuff, and and like his lab would have been like all sorts of like colorful things, and like inventions made out of erector sets and all sorts of stuff, and lots of like sound effects of like things that go like
yes. I also feel like it would have been like one of those things where like it tips a ball off a thing and the ball goes down the thing and hits another thing that hits another thing that hits another thing that hits the alarm clock that hits him or something. Classic. Yeah. I absolutely agree with you.
The finale would have been more elaborate than just like, all right, everyone roll tires down the hill,
I mean, hey, it was effective.
Yeah, I mean, as like for what it was, like separate from my fictional 70s child self, as an adult, I did like it, and I thought it was a pretty good film.
Yeah, I have specifics I really liked. I really enjoyed the music sting that happened every time he was coming up with an invention or an idea. I thought that was really fun. It kind of, I don't know why that particular music sting reminded me of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but it did. And then I also really loved Alvin's attitude toward his sister. Like, he was very like, why can't my sister come? She can run just as well as we can. Like, what? And only when Shea or Shea, whatever, was like, no, he was like, I mean, all right, but like weird. And then at obviously that growth happens, and Shea is like, no, we gotta bring her, she's great. And so I really love those aspects of it. I also just love a good old like kid heist movie where like kids are coming together and making things happen. I love that.
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. They, the big thing is, we got to get into the mayor's office so we can foil this plot, right? So we got to win the essay, and all our friends have to come along too. So, so we can be run City Hall for the day. And I expected them to like, oh, I'm mayor for a day, and the mayor's like sitting there like, all right, now you lick the envelopes, Mr. Mayor. And instead it was more like, all right, bye, here's the keys, you run City Hall. Like, really? This is not the level of reality we've been living in thus far. They're actually going to run the city.
Yeah, I loved that they took their jobs so seriously. Like, they're like, okay, you're gonna go do this, you're gonna go do this, we are these acting professionals. Like, the fact that he was, when he was like, I'm gonna be mayor, I was like, okay, but like under supervision of the mayor. Like, but no, they straight up were like, we're gonna go golf, peace out. And it was like, you're leaving these like 12-year-old kids to run the city. Like, granted, not a lot could happen in a day, I'm sure, but like, you're just gonna leave them in your office with confidential files? They're 12 years old. Like, they can read that.
But going back to the sister, I thought the sister was great. There was like a little bit of like, girls can't do this, and then of course like at the end, like the three of them are like pals. What I found interesting too is in the first book, she's referred to as just Pest, which is interesting because it's not from Alvin's point of view. there's like an omniscient, third person narrator, but she's referred to as past. It's also noted she's basically a lot like she is in the movie, where she just absolutely loves him, like just really supportive, great sister, like, oh, this is a great invention, I want to watch your invention, I want to help, but not in like an obnoxious way where she ruins everything. But the book notes, and this is 1960, it notes that she wishes she was a boy and puts all of her girl toys into her closet, and every chance that she has, she puts on her brother's clothes. So,
oh my god.
Yeah.
Trans man, let's go.
Yeah. Little trans boy.
Love that.
So it seems, I didn't get a chance to get my hands on a copy, but it seems like this is actually a mashup between the first book and then a book that's specifically about him being the mayor for a day.
Yeah, so every summary I find of the book talks about like a house and something going on with Mrs. Huntley, and I'm like, that's not what's happening in this movie.
Yeah.
So but it is a series, or at least 2 books, so I'm pretty sure they just combined a lot of the stories to make whatever this is. I'm not over the fact that Mr. Blackburn is Piglet. The villain of this film is Piglet.
Finally, Piglet as a villain, who I also know from the great Elvis film Girl Happy,
Yes.
which is a fun little romp.
John Fiedler out here being like, I'm have the sweetest little voice in the world, I'm gonna embezzle.
Yeah. And the bad guys who seem to be under suspicion of being bad guys primarily because they have southern accents, and the kids are immediately like, wait a minute.
Something's fishy.
Yeah.
I love the trope where like kids just happen upon a very serious crime. Like, just, that always makes me giggle. Like, it just...
Yeah. Like, they're just playing with the intercom system. They're like, you can hear all sorts of things going on here. And these guys are just like, remember that time we pulled that crime? Pretty much the conversation they tune in on.
Basically.
Going back to the series, so I found out that this is a 10-book series spanning from 1960 to 2009.
Oh!
And the author died in 2010 at the age of 90. He was a World War II Marine, and he actually wrote for engineering magazines and periodicals before he started writing the series. So that's sort of where the kid inventor side was like born, of his actual knowledge.
Wow.
Yeah.
He wrote the series over 50 years? That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Good for you, Clifford B. Hicks.
Yeah, and these Wonderful World of Disney episodes that compile the 2 films actually are the only media adaptations of his books ever.
Well, I noticed... oh, go ahead, sorry.
He had 2 other short-lived series that didn't span as many years or as many books, and those didn't get adapted either.
I know Disney did do the Whiz Kid and the Carnival Caper, which was also an unwatchable, but I'm pretty sure I found that too.
Yes, so. I believe I found that too through similar sources.
So, I mean, that's crazy that, with how many people do book adaptations now at this point, for Disney to do it on TV, like, be the only adaptations is kind of crazy.
And isn't it a shame that we've lost so many Wonderful World of Disney things? Like, this is good. Like, this could live on Disney Plus. There's worse live-action Disney Plus films on there.
There are a lot of films that I've had to find that are on Disney Plus that are genuinely so good, and it's really upsetting because, like, this isn't on Disney Plus, but, like, The Boy Who Talked to Badgers is, and I'm sure there are people out there that love The Boy Who Talked to Badgers, and I haven't gone back and watched that yet. It's a found one, but, like, the clips I saw of The Boy Who Talked to Badgers they were not good. And so I'm just like, how could you not put Eric Shea and Kim Richards on our screen, but you can give us The Boy Who Talked to Badgers? Like, what is that? There was a line that killed me in this film because it's a little bit appropriate right now. And it was, just about anything is fair in politics. And I was like, wow, ahead of its time. Ahead of its time.
Yeah.
So that gave me a good old gig.
And then
Yeah.
when he thanked his sister and not Shoey or whatever, that I was like, Daffy's out here. It was the best. I loved that so much. There were just so many cute little pieces of this, like how she was smart enough to take the walkie-talkie with her when she was getting kidnapped, or just the entire tire sequence is just so special. His inventions were very fun. The one where he like had the really long like listening and looking device go up to their window, that was very fun. And I thought they did a good job of like having inventions in the 70s that were like I even thought they were cool today, like the paper throwing thing and, you know, the sneaky snooper or whatever you call it. Like, I thought all those were very fun inventions that I think kids could invent today and would still be cool.
Yeah, going again back to the engineering history and all of that.
Yeah.
I felt at times that the inventions were a little bit sidelined and didn't have as much to do with the plot. Because again, this is about kids foiling, would we call it a real estate scam or like or just embezzlement?
I mean, it's like real estate fraud, insurance fraud. Because, you know, I'd say real estate fraud, just fraud in general.
Yeah, this is definitely something where had I watched it as a kid and you asked me to summarize it, I'd be like, they're the bad guys and they were going to cash a check and they shouldn't have done that. Like,
yeah, just they're stealing money. They're stealing money. That's all I would have. Yeah.
I thought the kids were, of course, the kids were great and the adults did a good job of like living in the same world as them. Because oftentimes when you had movies of this era, you had like adults being like, I am serious and I am dramatic actor, and then you had like kids that are like this, and like it's like you don't live in the same reality. But I felt like everyone was kind of on the same page in terms of that, and I felt the kids were. It was that charming level of unreality. It's like these kids don't necessarily talk the way that kids actually talk, but it's fun to like watch them. And it's, you know, it's that Disney magic. It's that,
yes.
Way.
I will also, bouncing off of that, the adults and the kids, for a second, I do want to say that it was kind of refreshing to be watching a movie where the adults believed the kids. Like for the mayor and whatever, the cop, I think it was the chief or the sheriff or whatever, for them to be like, oh, that's plausible, maybe we should look into it. Instead of just no, your kids, you're stupid, which is normally what happens. The fact that they were like, oh, maybe we'll go check at least.
Yeah, it's less of, no, adults will understand this, and more of like, this won't hold up in court. We need more.
Yeah, it was much more like, we need at least a little proof. Like, we need a little proof, and then maybe they'll believe us. And then they did, and it ended up, you know, which is great. I loved that. I loved that it wasn't a whole, like, they won't even believe me, and then it gets that much worse.
That's everything I have for the Whiz Kid and the Mystery at Riverton. Max, what's your final rating?
I think I'd give it a 7 out of 10 flying newspapers.
Oh, there you go. Look at you.
My final rating is 6 tires out of 10. Our original movie count is, and our Parents That Toll and Cry count are still the same.
Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Oh, sure. You can go to twitch.tv/Twitch partner Max Pacheco. Not an actual Twitch partner, it's a joke. And there you'll find me playing video games and streaming various things. And you'll also find links to all of my other various things.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on and being a guest and talking and finding the film and talking about the Whiz Kid and the Mystery at Riverton. That's amazing.
All right, yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
A huge thanks to Max for being a guest. That was fun. I had a great time. If you want to keep up with what movie I'm watching, follow me on Instagram or Twitter. You'll find out what movie I'm watching when. I put up videos every Monday and Friday, sometimes Wednesday. Finally. Join Patreon, buy merch, the whole shebang. Until next time, comment, like, subscribe, and show you are, so you do it, and don't be Black Britain about it. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take these broken wings and learn to fly. My, oh my. Thanks, Max.